Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. I hope everybody enjoyed the special Decepticon Commando month we had last month. But now we're getting back to some G1 toys. So we're going to take a look at a Micromaster trailer toy unit. This is the Autobot Construction Engineer Erector. Now, before we get into the really bad jokes that I know some of you are probably thinking of with his name, more than likely the name is an homage to the Erector construction sets that were available from the earlier on, like say in the 1950s and 60s, as a building toy for children. Supposedly, my father had a few of those growing up. I personally haven't seen one in a lot of years, but more than likely that's where this toy gets its name from. So let's run with that, and please remember this is a family-friendly channel, so no jokes on his name, please. This toy was released in 1989, and he would be only available in 1989. Being discontinued in 1990 before the line would be ended. Erector here is unique amongst the four trailer sets in the fact that his trailer does not convert into a flying machine. Rough Stuff, Flat Top, and Overload all had trailers that became flying craft. So Erector's being totally ground-based is different. Whether it's more interesting or not, that's hard to say. It's more than likely most kids enjoyed playing with ones that were able to fly, or at least gave the illusion that it could fly, as you had that swooshing factor that you could do with your hands with it. Whereas this toy here does not have that. But we won't discount him out of it totally. At any rate, let's first take a look at the robot himself. We'll separate him from the unit and move it aside. Erector here is a unique Micromaster, which was a nice feature, as unfortunately quite a few of the Micromaster toys just repainted the molds. That's one good thing about these trailer figures. They were all new sculpts. He looks pretty good for a robot. He's not perfect by any stretch, but he does give the impression of being physically tough, so we'll go with that. As far as articulation goes, pretty standard for a Micromaster. You can rotate his arms all the way at the shoulders. And you could bend him at the knees, like so you could give him a reasonable looking sitting position. Now, of course, to transform him, that was a simple step. First thing we do is we fold his arms down to the side like so. Then we'll fold his head into his chest. And then we will fold his chest up and over like so. And here's his tractor mode, which again, since it's not meant to look like anything real, so that Hasbro didn't have to pay royalties, it doesn't look too bad. It gives the impression of being a heavy-duty construction vehicle with slightly offset cockpit, driver's area. The only real disappointment that comes from this is the front wheels here. Since they're attached to his shoulders, they are fake wheels, so they don't roll. Only his rear wheels do roll. How does that make him roll, you ask? as you can see, rather poorly. Since the front wheels do not rotate, he doesn't really roll very well. So that's a shame. And we'll get the trailer back in here. And it's meant to be some sort of weapons emplacement. It's got a couple of antennae here in the back for communication. Of course, he's got a nice back protector, so that protects his rear flank from enemy attacks. That's at least one smart thing about it. Because unfortunately, as you can see, this operations area is pretty open and exposed. So his side flanks here are open and exposed to enemy fire. And of course, he has this cannon here in the front, which can raise and lower. And of course, nobody really knows what this cannon is. The instructions label it as a missile launcher, but the tech spec bio makes no mention of a missile launcher. And then, of course, here at the front, we have the big cannon, which can't really rotate very much due to this being up. If this was down just a little bit, like so, as you can see, it would help improve the field of fire, but unfortunately, as is, it pretty much limits the front of the cannon to be forward only. But it can raise up about so far. So it has a relatively decent range of fire, but since it can only be a forward-facing cannon, that does limit its effectiveness. Of course, the neat thing is it's got these little stoppers here that try to give the illusion that the thing is made as a fixed emplacement, but unfortunately, since the wheels are all still touching the ground, it can still roll. I think Hasbro should have turned more to some of their G.I. Joe toys for inspiration on how to make this thing more of a stationary weapon emplacement. As one of their mobile weapon emplacements, the Whirlwind Twin Battle Gun, was a towed accessory, but when you got it into position, you could flip the wheels up, and it would make a permanent weapon emplacement. Of course, there was also the MMS missile system from earlier that did the same thing. You could make a stand come out of it, and it would raise the wheels up off the ground so the unit could not roll, and thus it stayed in position. This, unfortunately, it renders these posts here on the sides rather useless. They look good, but that's all they do. I mean, would it have really taken much extra effort to make the wheels at least fold inward or something? I don't know. But at any rate, let's transform this into its alternate mode. Start by folding up the black cannons here, and then we lay that section all the way down. Yes, this is my original, and this is still very, very stiff after all these years. Who'd have thunk it? Who'd have thunk it? 30 years later, it's still stiff. Then we get the back piece here, and we fold that down on top of it. And then now to the sides, we're going to fold up the support legs and fold the antenna down to the side, and then bring the whole wall up against the side of the vehicle, like so. Alright, And we're going to turn the cannon the other direction, raise it up a little bit. Then we're going to fold out the crane hook and bring the forward support in and put it over the gun. And then there's the transport trailer in the form of a very large industrial crane. Of course, it's on a good solid set of wheels, so it will roll fair, to say the least. And of course, there is a hole here at the front. That's where Erector plugs in at. And then you have a good-sized, oversized loaded crane to drive down your pretend highways. Unfortunately, it doesn't roll very well, but at least the crane is capable of rotating all the way around, and you can raise it up and down and swing the hook all about. Lots of fun there, folks. Now we'll take a look at Erector's loose parts. Aside from the Micromaster, you have this crane trailer. Nothing really fancy about it, but it's the main bulk of your transformer. And then, of course, you have the crane arm. Which unfortunately, it has a fair amount of detail on it. There's no paint on it, to say the least. Biggest thing you want to watch out for is the hook itself. Since, as you can see here, that's some rather thin plastic, so it could be prone to breakage. I also wouldn't recommend trying to remove it. It looks like you probably could remove the crane hook from there, but as like I said, this is a 30-year-old toy. I'm not going to do that. But there is the loose parts for Erector. As an added bonus, according to the instructions, they say the crane arm here can fit on Erector himself, and as you can see, it does connect very well to his post. So you can use that as an optional play option. The only problem is just how stupid that really looks. Of course, you do have the option of going with it as making him a mobile cannon. Yeah, I can see that. As in, yeah, right. Alright, let's take a look now at Erector's file card. So I recently just acquired this, so it's part of the reason why we're doing his review. Right in here would have been where the crane was, and Erector would be right here next to it. The picture there seems to depict Erector as sitting down in the unit. And of course, here on the thing, it does have a hole back here. The instructions usually depict him standing, but that shows him sitting. Okay, now we got him sitting in it, and he can't reach the controls from there. I guess he stands there and gets another Micromaster to do the work for him or something. But of course, when he's standing there, he can't reach the grips anyways. Kind of silly. Now turn it around to the back side. It's got a drawing that matches the front of the box. Front of the card, rather, excuse me. And then start showing the instructions. Of course, I like they're referring to the alternate mode as a tank. And there's a problem with that. A tank is defined more as a vehicle that is tracked. And this thing does not have tracks or treads. So it is technically not a tank. An armored car would almost be a better description, as it does have wheels, but since it's got the supports on it, it's not technically that either. It is more a field artillery cannon. You would have thought that a toy company that made a lot of military-type toys would know to get that right. But at any rate, and here's where they describe the black guns as a missile launcher. Swing down double-barreled missile launcher. But as you'll see here in a moment when we go over the tech spec, it makes no mention of a missile launcher. And then here's how to transform Erector into a robot. And then it shows here him standing in the unit. And of course, beneath the final picture, we have the barcode and the robot points. He was worth 1 point. And then we go over here and start with the tech spec. It's done up in a red color to show he's an Autobot. And it has a picture of him that matches the one on the front of the package. As you can see from the green sticker, this one was from Walmart, and he retailed for $5.63. It gives his name as Erector, and his function is construction engineer. So I guess in a lot of ways, he was a replacement for Huffer. And his motto is, everyone loses if there's nothing to win. Programmed to build and preserve. Reluctant to destroy, only fights when provoked, often uses cunning and tactical maneuvering to ensnare his enemies, and yet he supposedly has a missile launcher. A brave, respected warrior, equipped with titanium-belted, bulletproof tires and alloyed exterior that's impervious to most armaments. Crane hook with hydraulic swing can pierce enemy armor with deadly accuracy. Sounds more like he is crane claw. The crane hook could be used by Scorpion. Converts to battle station. Here we go. Battle station now. First it's a tank. Now it's a battle station. Armed with devastating photon cannon and anti-aircraft machine gun battery. So, okay. This thing in the front is probably the photon cannon, and this would probably be the machine gun. So, how is this a machine gun and a missile launcher? Sounds like another complicated G.I. Joe weapon. Alright, moving here to the tech specs, we'll take a look at how his stats stack up. This, of course, is the new style they did in 1989. It gives his strength as 7, his intelligence is 8, his speed is 2. We can agree with that one after how this toy rolls. His endurance is 7. I expected that to have been a little higher. His rank is 6, his courage is 8, his firepower is 7, and his skill is 9, despite the fact that nothing in the bio really talks about what all he can do as a construction engineer. We just get the sense that he's a bit of a pacifist. Alright, we get down now to my thoughts. What do I think of Erector? Erector's one of those that's really complicated to grade due to the way that he's presented and the many errors that are listed on the toy itself. The toy's instructions refer to this mode as a tank, yet the file card lists it as a battle station, which is more appropriate with it given the fact that it does have multiple uses. I mean, we do have two different types of guns, plus we've got antenna at the back. So obviously it is intended to be some sort of miniature battle station, which isn't bad, not really, but the problem is that it's rather limited in its usefulness, as the cannons can only be fired in the forward position. There is nothing to help cover the vulnerable sides, so Erector pretty much has to stay close to another setup in order to be able to be useful. Because if he can't defeat his enemies that are coming head on at him, they will be able to attack him from other angles, and he's powerless to do anything about it. The card file talks about him being somebody that is reluctant to destroy, and we do get a lot of those types of characters in these military type toys. G.I. Joe had several members of the Joe team that were more pacifist in nature, but they were more usually reserved to their medical personnel than the actual soldiers themselves. So it leaves you to wonder about Erector here on that, but he is a construction engineer, so he prefers building over destruction, and that makes a lot of sense. The only problem is that his weapons aren't designed to be defensive in nature. He has offensive weaponry on this unit. Now, of course, the photon cannon, it's been said that photon beams are usually meant for blinding opponents, as many of the Protectobots carry them. But given the power that, if this is the photon cannon, that's going to be a pretty powerful weapon. That's not going to just blind out their optic sensors. That may be more than likely to blow their heads off. So I don't necessarily think that weapon is all that defensive. And we all know how defensive a machine gun is. So there's a lot of contradictoriness in this toy. And then there's the toy itself. The crane mode, it's not bad. Not really. I mean, you don't see a lot of oversized cranes like that anymore, but it isn't bad, to say the least. The battle station mode, that's where we have a fair amount of the problems with it. Because unlike the others that became planes and such, the figure could be put in a position where he looked like he was handling the controls for it and could at least simulate flight. Erector here can't even hold the guns on this unit. And to put him in a sit-down position, he doesn't even look like he's doing anything. Then you've got the supports on the side that are meant to make it look like this thing is immobile, but clearly, as you've seen from my video, you can still roll this thing, so the supports are pretty much useless. All in all, this toy just barely makes it into the middle tier, and that's judging it on a curve, to say the least. Because I had this one growing up, and I did play with it a fair amount. But I also know that the Autobots had a fair amount of construction-themed Micromaster toys. They did get a set that was a squad of Micromaster construction vehicles. And, of course, one of the larger battle station toys, Ironworks, was a construction site. And the two large tandem vehicles that were done the following year also had their robots become large construction vehicles. So there was plenty of them to go around with Erector and act like they're building something for the Autobots to use to defend themselves with. So in ways, Erector's usefulness would work out for that, but unfortunately for the rest of him, nah, he just barely qualifies for being in the middle tier. This one, if you don't really have any of the construction-themed guys to go with him, yeah, this would be a bottom-tier toy for sure. And that concludes my review of the 1989 Autobot Construction Engineer Erector. If you liked my video, please leave me a thumbs up here on YouTube. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button down below and join our ranks. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you'll be alerted when I post new content. Also, please share your thoughts about Erector in the comments down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.